Welcome to Live from my drum room. My guest today is Cady Zildjian. Cady is the Vice Chair Board of Directors for the Zildjian Company. She is the eldest of the 15th generation of the Zildjian family, and she's Debbie Zildjian's daughter and Armand Zildjian's granddaughter. I was going to say my old job, but that's not quite what my old job was. But I've known Cady a long time, and it's really a pleasure to have her on the show. We talk about Zildjian celebrating their 400th anniversary this year, some really cool events they have in store, some things they've already done, and some things they're going to be doing, new products, and a great conversation about the business in general. So it's a real pleasure to have Cady here. What we forgot to mention is the fact that I took Cady to her first show, The Spin Doctors, in 1993, 30 years ago, which kind of blows my mind. But so it just shows you how long she's been into music. She's been a big fan of music for a long time, which we also talk about. So come along for the ride, pun intended, and I hope you enjoy the show. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to Live from my drum room. I'd like to welcome you all to Live from my drum room. It's a pleasure to see you all today. And without further ado, please welcome my guest. So happy to have her here today. 15th generation Zildjian family member. My old job, Cady Zildjian.
Hi, John. How are you?
I'm great, Cady. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for being here today. Nice hoodie, nice sweatshirt.
Oh, thank you. Yes. New apparel.
I got the memo too. You know, you said, make sure you wear something that says Zildjian. I said, okay. Everybody watching at home, Cady wouldn't agree to do this show today unless I promised. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. This is one of my favorite, I know it's an old shirt, but I think you called it the vintage tee back in the day. I think it was.
Probably, yes.
Something
I know.
like that.
Subtle, nice and subtle, right?
Nice and subtle. Yeah, it's got the old, anyway. All right. Well, it's great to have you here, Cady, and a whole bunch of folks watching. So thank you for being here. And for all of you folks, I started to say this during the intro, all of you folks watching, if you don't know where Cady fits into the lineage of the Zildjian Company, and Cady, please correct me if I'm wrong or you want to jump in at any moment, but Cady is the oldest member of the 15th generation of the Zildjian family. The eldest, and in your generation, there's you and your sister Emily, and Craigie's daughter Samantha.
Yes.
And then there's another generation coming up before we know it. Your girls, and Emily has two girls too.
Emily has a daughter and a son.
And a son. That's right.
First Zildjian boy in a long time. So.
Yes, that's right. I remember that. That's right. A daughter and a son, and then Craigie has her daughter. I'm sorry, Samantha, Craigie's daughter.
Samantha has two daughters now, so yeah.
She has, wow, okay.
So we're well into the 16th generation.
Fantastic. Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. I remember Craigie telling me that Sam had a second daughter, so that's fantastic.
Yeah, so actually that's one of my my sort of responsibilities for the summer is helping to create a junior shareholder education program. So we're going through that right now, some drum lessons and, some little research projects, a Zildjian scavenger hunt, things like that.
That's great. That's fantastic. Well, I mean, I started the intro by saying that I've known you, close to 40 years. I started working there in 1989 and I met you and Emily when you were really small. And I just remember you guys being, both of you, even really young, obviously interested in music. And having that desire that every child has, to be interested in music. When you were that young, did you have any, I don't want to say desire, did you have any inkling that maybe someday you'd work for the company? Did you?
I don't know. That's been a big topic of conversation lately. What was the exposure when we were little, and we were in the office a lot. I remember it just being such a big part of my mom's life and my aunt's life and my grandfather's life, and such a big part of family life that the office kind of just felt like an extension of home and family a lot.
Yeah.
So I don't know that it was assumed, oh, I'll work here or, we'll be, running or this or anything like that. But I never once thought that it wouldn't be part of my life and it
Yeah.
wouldn't be involved in some way, you know. It's I've always said it's really hard to separate the business and the family at this point.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. I mean, and and I think maybe some people might make an assumption that, you're Debbie Zildjian's daughter, and so, automatically you're going to work for the company, but you went to school and you obviously had other interests in life. And, my wife, Vic Firth's daughter, she would be the first to tell you she really didn't have any interest in like sort of continuing at a certain point, working in the business. And that's understandable. It doesn't mean that, and what I'm getting at with this is it's great to see you, I worked with you for a period of time and you had a passion to work in the industry. You could see it. And that doesn't always happen. So I think it's great that you, if I remember correctly, you came in after college and worked for a while.
Yep.
At
Yeah, I
Zildjian.
did a lot of the apparel stuff, actually. Probably maybe even the shirt you're wearing. Who knows?
I think you might have, yeah.
Which was really like a fun thing to do and a really nice, like kind of microcosm of the business and a great way to get my feet wet and all of that kind of stuff. That went on for about maybe 4 or 5 years. We hit that recession in 2008. And a lot of, like happens in our industry a bunch, kind of the extra dollars dry up and things like apparel were the first to go. It's really interesting to see those kind of trends keep popping up now that I've been in this, situation for a while and in the business for a while. Like we've had a couple starts with apparel. We've, had really like, how do we get this off the ground? And then you get into, okay, how do you get a drum shop to sell t-shirts and things like that? So I think something like that's really taught me is like, you can't give up. You have to keep learning from your mistakes. And, just because you can't get it right the first time or, the approach to market isn't correct the first time doesn't mean that you shouldn't keep trying. And, if you believe the product is valuable and you believe you have something to offer, figure it out, keep going.
Yep. That's great. And I think, the company has proven time and again that, when something like apparel, for example, maybe, I know when I was there, we went through this too, where we'd have our sights on the higher end premium type stuff. And as great as it is, sometimes it's just as simple as the price tag. It's like, okay, this is something that has to sell for this much money to make it worthwhile. And at the end of the day, kids want to buy black t-shirts.
Right.
I mean, it could be that simple to where, so it doesn't mean you have to, like you say, you don't give up. You just try another approach. You just go, okay, well.
Yeah, I think what's like super exciting about coming back to Zildjian this time around. So this is maybe my second or third iteration being back at the company and tried to add value in places where I can. I currently sit on the board of directors, so I do not have an operational position. But I like to, like I said, help and do what I can and be involved. So, the team that we have now, it's like we have such a great strategy that it really makes those kind of decisions easy. Like, what kind of t-shirt are you going to have? What, price point are you going to have? And I think we've really done a great job of having like a higher up uniform strategy that makes decision-making, roll down easily, which is really nice to see.
That's great. And you're, as part of the board, you're involved in those decisions. You're definitely at the table, so to speak. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot about like, what are our values and what's our mission? And, then kind of how does that filter out versus, the family making as many kind of little tiny, day-to-day decisions. Yeah.
And this year, we're going to talk about this certainly more than right now, but have to note for everybody, if you've been living under a rock and you don't know it, this is the 400th anniversary this year for Zildjian. And I know you've already done a bunch of really cool events. And I could be assuming again too much here, Cady, but when I saw some of the things you guys were doing, I figured you had to have had your fingerprint on some of this stuff, because I know we did some stuff together back 10 or more years ago with like the Allman Brothers and radio promotions and things. So I know this is like your area to do these types of things.
Yeah. I mean, like the 400 came up fast on us, right? It's not like, we had 399 years to prepare anything. I keep making that joke, but really it did, so I think when we kind of, we're a small company. It's a big anniversary and the brand is big, but we have a limited amount of resources and bandwidth of our people here. So, we really kind of sat down and said, what do we want to celebrate? And we decided that, what we really wanted to celebrate was the product and the artists that make our product valuable and help our product, sing to the world, really. So we kind of resurrected some of the artist sessions and took them to a couple cities. We did New York at the Cutting Room. We went to LA, the Baked Potato. We were in Nashville. The place is escaping me right now. And then we were just at Tipitina's for Jazz Fest. And, we're really trying to kind of recreate that drummer's hang. I kept envisioning it as something like that was missing from NAMM. Now that NAMM, we've sort of lost the trade show momentum and COVID has put a little damper on these massive parties. It's sort of where do we all gather together? And I think that maybe some of these music festivals are taking that spot a little bit. Certainly Jazz Fest, proved us right on that one. So it was really, really great to see how many people came out to see us, how many people were just, flattered to be invited, to be included, how great it was to see people connect with each other that, they hadn't seen each other in years and years. And just to be able to kind of provide that platform and space. I think that's what Zildjian's about.
That's so great. Yeah, I have to think that after, the last couple of years we've all been through, like the timing of, the artist sessions are always great just to get the drummers, the artists together to hang. But when you've had, a period of time where everybody's been, for whatever reason or other, hasn't been able to gather, it had to have made it really extra special. And so, when you do these events, if I have it right, you do is it like a public? You do like two different things, sort of. The Tipitina's event at Jazz Fest was open to the public, right?
That was great. We sort of, Stanton and his team very graciously provided the venue, and we were saying, what are we going to do to cover these costs? And we said, well, let's try to sell tickets. We think we can probably sell, some tickets to this. We can certainly sell some drinks. We knew that, and we basically filled the place, I think, at 2:00 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. And it was just really wonderful to feel that energy and, see how many people not only wanted to come, but really wanted to play. So I think we'll definitely have to have that again next year if I believe Stanton will have us back. So
yeah, just do an anniversary of the anniversary every year. It'll be the first anniversary of the.
It's the hang, the annual hang. And I think what's really was interesting is we were able to, display some of our new products. We've got the K paper thins that were coming out. So, really picking songs and groups that were going to, show off our new stuff was really fun. Yeah.
And so I know the one, like what you did one in New York at the Cutting Room. So you have like a sort of like a house band.
Yes.
And then the artist can go up and sit in and play. Is a lot of that worked out ahead of time, or is it sort of?
Yes, that's all Joe Testa. He does a lot of that. And then Gary Novak really set everything up for us at the Baked Potato. That's a lot of work that I cannot take any credit for at all. And it also depends on the space. I mean, obviously the Baked Potato, we did not have a lot of room, but we've had 2 drum kits in spaces and. So, we're still kind of experimenting with the total model, but it's a great way to kind of do everything together. It gathers people, it creates content, it gets our new products out there. And it's, a really fun time in the meantime.
Yeah, that's great. I was so glad to see you guys were doing those. That was, drummers love to hang out together. And like you said, the NAMM show and the cool thing about the artist sessions is, they get to see each other at the NAMM show, but it's such a different environment. Obviously, it's hard for people to talk. It's hard to really have that. Some of the drummers, we know sort of avoid the NAMM. Well, used to in the days when it was really what it was. I know a lot of people that would kind of go, I don't want to deal with that, but they would come to the artist session because it was a much smaller, intimate gathering. So that's really cool.
Yeah,
you guys do that.
It had a very good vibe to it. But it is a little bit like you have the party and you're like, I hope people are coming. You're there A little before, we're all standing there with our cake and waiting. And I think next time we won't get black icing on the cake. That made for some funny pictures, but
I'll bet. Yeah. That's funny. Just talking about the baked potato, Rick, I talked to Rick Murata after he went, and he had a great time, and he told me about those new K-Thins. He said, you have to, in fact, to sidetrack for 1 second, he was threatening, he was back, as you know, last week from the vineyard to visit me for a couple of days, visit up here for a couple of days. And before he came, he was threatening to come to Zildjian. And he just didn't. Yeah, he did. He said, "Come on, we'll go." And I said, "You can't just show up there, Rick. Even you can't just show up there." So,
sure,
but yeah. Oh, I know. But you can't let him think that, though, Cady. Don't let him think that. But as it turned out, he had way too many things to do, places to go in the time that he was here. But he said we should go there. You're gonna love these K-Thins. We're gonna get you some of those K-Thins. So anyway. Congratulations on those. They will be out this year sometime, or are they out?
Yes, they're in production now. I know we've got some great orders for them, so they should be out soon, very soon. We got just awesome reception on that, and I'm excited to see them out there. So
yeah, great.
So we'll make sure to get you and Rick some. Don't worry.
Well, I'm not. I know that sounded like a hint. I was just saying
I got the invite to come maybe see Rick and Jerry in Martha's Vineyard this summer. So I'm gonna maybe add that to my tour list. We'll
see. All right. Hopefully it's gonna happen. There's all kinds of stuff going on that hopefully that's gonna happen this year. It'd be so fun to have you there.
I know, they're funny.
Well, cool. So, and I guess I sort of jumped in pretty deep on this without really setting this up in case people don't know this, but we talked about your grandfather, who was the great Armand Zildjian. Anyone who doesn't know that. And he was just the absolute most incredible guy. Say that right now. And so, and Cady's mom is Debbie Zildjian, who's Armand's daughter, and her aunt is Cady Zildjian, also Armand's daughter. So yeah, that's and I was lucky enough to work there when Armand was still with us for about 14 years, and then another 10 years after that with your mom and your aunt. Good times, and it's great to see, you guys you've got a great 400th anniversary rocking and rolling here.
Yeah, we do a lot of the, like, what would Armand do? Like, what would Armand say? Try to keep him in mind. How would he want, whatever problem we're looking at, whatever issue, kind of like take his perspective into mind. So
that's great. And you're absolutely right.
Living and breathing here.
Yeah, I know. No, and what you're doing, I think, is exactly what he would do. He would want to do something that involved the artists, something that really celebrated the fact that, you've got all these great endorsers. You showcase them, you showcase the product, you celebrate the anniversary, and it's all those things coming together. It's great. So, I had a couple other things I just wanted to talk to you about here, but we're nowhere near done yet, Cady. Don't worry.
Oh God, I got all day.
So we started talking about how you came to work at Zildjian, the first iteration after college, and then I know you left and worked in the business world, and I know that's kind of part of the criteria for family members to get out there and get some business experience, which is great. And then you got your MBA.
Yeah.
Was that about 5 or so years ago? Is that when?
I graduated in 2015 from.
Okay, great. Congratulations on that. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
And is that when you came back for this?
I came back here officially, I think, the beginning of 2018.
I see. Okay.
And it feels very kind of choppy because, I was here for a bit, and then COVID, and then, now we're sort of post-COVID. So it feels like it's been a kind of a long stretch in these, a little bit of a rocky road at points. But, extremely educational, and talk about getting kind of thrown into it. So. Yeah.
And when was it a hard decision because I know you were working for SmartPack, I think, at one point too,
and. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not a drummer, but I have a very extreme passion, like many of the drummers that I know, which is horseback riding. And I know you're familiar with that because of their
Yes.
sister-in-law. She's a big horsewoman as well. So I worked at a company that was a startup that was very much like a Zildjian to the horse world. They provide products for horses, and it's a lot of riders and horse fanatics that work there. So I had worked there for a while. I'd finally left that job. I had 2 young kids. I had just finished my MBA,
Right.
and I was kind of thinking, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? Actually, at that point, Craigie had really decided that she was going to be stepping down from CEO position, and that we were going to take our board of advisors and create more of a formalized board of directors, and that she would be then chairwoman of the board, and we would look for a replacement CEO. So when that decision was made, then it was kind of like, okay, well, this is a different role, like a different model of family leadership. And, she invited me to come back in as the next generation on the board, and learn more about the business and just kind of, be part of sort of the strategic development of where the company's going versus more of like the daily operations side.
Yeah. Yep. And without putting you on the spot, and you don't have to answer if I'm putting you on the spot, do you envision maybe someday going to that next level? And
I think for us, the next level will be very different than what the company looks like now. We have a lot of growth plans. I think our organizational structure will not look the same, kind of as it did when my aunt was CEO. So I don't know that sort of the next level means CEO of this, Zildjian Company, or is it, do we have more like a parent company, more umbrella things? Are we, does the board of directors become more of a leadership role of several ventures, which is kind of what I would like to see in the future. The MMI, right, is a heavily family business dominated industry, and a lot of family businesses, do not make it past the 3rd or 4th generations.
No.
We see that, in our industry right now. So there's a lot of businesses that are acquirable, that are, looking to consolidate, looking for help with distribution, things like that. So I think we have a lot of opportunity to grow, not only in new products and innovation, but also, within our industry, just, kind of grassroots. So. Yeah.
Yep. No, that makes sense. You're right. It's without painting a negative picture, but the market is, it's a pretty mature market, so to speak. Yes. And you have to be looking for other things. You're right. And that's what Zildjian has always done is looked ahead. Yeah.
I think that has been one of our strengths. And that is, we have to get you have to get out of your, we make cymbals. We want to continue to make the best cymbals always, but it's, how do we keep delivering sound to people the way that people are creating sound, the way that they're kind of consuming sound. The product hasn't changed in 400 years, but the way people listen to it and use it certainly has.
Exactly. I do want to give a shout out. You mentioned Joe Testa.
Yes.
I know that man. And if he's watching, he's probably going to tell me later he was too busy to watch it. I don't believe if you're on the show, I don't see how he's too busy to watch it. But I think it's great you mentioned Joe, because I know, his history and his background from working at Yamaha and doing the Groove Nights all those years is, and integral to putting together some of these shows you mentioned. So just it's nice to acknowledge.
Yeah,
Joe.
He's a key player here for sure. And we talk pretty much daily about, things that are going on. And, he's just a wonderful member of the team, and I'd be lost without him. So I'm very happy that he's here and helping with this project. And
he's a good guy.
He's the linchpin for this 400th for sure.
Yeah. I have a couple of nicknames for Joe. I don't know if you know them. Well, there's the Fonz, which I can't take credit. You know that one. That Steve Gadd gave him that name. Mm-hmm. But I nicknamed him 3-Course Joe.
Okay.
If you ever have lunch with Joe, he'll order soup and then a sandwich and then a piece of pie for dessert. So anyway.
That's funny.
It's just I'm saying that only to embarrass Joe. simply, purely. Um, talking about Armand for a second,
Yeah.
I'd love to know, you probably have 10 million stories, but I know it's when someone asks you to tell a story, you're sort of like deer in the headlights. But is there anything you could share with everybody that you remember about your grandfather that?
I mean, so much. He was really like a playful guy. I mean, he was, I remember like tons of naughty things about him, right? Like he
Yeah.
would just like swear all the time, or all around the kids and all the kids when we were all little, my mom would always say we'd come back from a weekend with them and, just dropping F-bombs everywhere. But he was very, very fun.
Yeah.
And you'd always take us, we were kids in Arizona. They had this like Wild West town. It was called Rawhide. I just remember, my parents never wanted to go and he'd always like pretend that he didn't want to go, but he'd get all dressed up. He had like a gun and holsters and he'd wear all that kind of stuff. I mean, he just was such like a larger than life personality, really. But I always felt very connected to him. He went to Colgate as well.
Yes.
So we were both Colgate graduates, and he was really, very sweet to me when I decided to go there. And I think he was kind of touched. It's nice to think of him there. Like I did a lot. I think of him walking those halls kind of thing. He used to always call it toothpaste tech, which my friends thought was funny. I mean, he just he always had nicknames for everybody.
Yep.
There's still, I still cannot go to certain golf clubs without running into people that told me they would caddy for him and have to drive him home, or he slept in their couch or something, these when they were 17 and he was really wild. He had, this limousine. I don't know if you remember that, John. He had like a 1980s limousine that he would drive himself around in, or he would hire, my cousins and things like that on the other side of my family to drive him around. And
I don't remember. That was maybe before my time. That's hilarious.
Yes. And he always had like outfits to go with his cars. The limousine, had the hat and everything. And then he had the Bentley with the goggles and the scarf, the like Red Baron,
Yeah. Yeah.
So he just did everything, like 110%.
Yeah. No, I asked you, you being the oldest, I figured you had a lot of great memories. You were old enough to, experience that with him. And he, I just echo what you're saying. He was just larger than life. And what I tell people, people ask me what it was like to know him. What I found about him when we traveled, like if we traveled to a PASIC together, or I remember going to Tony Williams' funeral with Armand and your Aunt Craigie, and spending a lot of time with just Armand in San Francisco for a couple of days. And the thing about him, I to this day that I say, is he was so unassuming. Obviously he wasn't somebody that everybody in the world would recognize on the street, but we'd go into a drum shop or a music store and he is the biggest rock star in the world. And he was just this down to earth, like nice, I can't even explain it, but he just made everybody feel so great. And it wasn't an act. He just naturally could do that because he wasn't trying to impress anybody. He wasn't trying to be anything that he wasn't, he was just himself. And
he enjoyed talking to people and just enjoyed most of, life. Like it seemed, especially in the end when, we all, when we were the grandchildren, and he kind of got to sit back and, enjoy a little bit of what he had done. So,
yeah. I think I think he, I know he'd be very proud to see you working in the business. And and your sister Emily, I remember when she worked, in the factory, which was great because that's how Armand came up, working in the melt room and all those things that his father made him do kind of as part of the process. So it's great that you guys carry that tradition.
Yeah. I think, we have no no one in our family has any desire to see this business go anywhere, but I think we all know what we don't know. And, we know, like, to carry on, we need a whole team and a whole village of people here. So that's what we're trying to get established and, build so that, and I think the family would really like to focus on a lot of the sort of the education and the philanthropy side of things and be able to kind of support a lot of that movement, with the momentum of Zildjian.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you, you were talking about NAMM before, and again, not to put you on the spot, but do you ever, I guess next year, they just had a small version of NAMM, of course, in April, I guess. And I think they're planning to go back to the sort of full scale 3 or 4 days in January. Do you envision it, Zildjian kind of participating the way that you used to, or even do you see that show ever being what it used to be? I'm just curious what your thoughts might be on that.
I mean, when I didn't go this year, but I went the previous year when it was in June, and I was impressed with how, kind of lively and the energy that was there, even though it was so post-COVID and the middle of June in California. I mean, I think that there is room for trade shows still. I think it's that kind of, like, I'll give you the business school answer. If you're doing anything like you were doing, pre-COVID, you're probably not doing the right thing. So I think, like, we definitely need a revamp and a reapproach, but I would hate to see sort of NAMM completely disappear. I think it's a pretty valuable, of course, networking space. I think it's just like the technology and stuff that I've been exposed to at NAMM is really valuable for me. I don't know where else I would see that all in one place. So I really hope that that it doesn't go away.
Yeah. And I think people that, if they don't know this, that are watching this, don't realize what NAMM really is. It's not just a place for drummers or all musicians to just sort of hang out. It's actually, there is a purpose that it serves, which is to have manufacturers display their products for dealers and distributors to come and meet and that and so forth. And I know that you guys and a lot of companies have in past years, found other options besides NAMM, not to replace NAMM, but have found other ways to get your products into the marketplace and.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes it's hard with NAMM. You can get lost pretty easily. It was getting so big at one point that it's like, you're just rushing to get everything out, and people are getting a little over stimulated or overserved with with options there. But again, I mean, I think, with like, we're kind of, this digital revolution has happened. I mean, I see the next one being like an AI type, how does that going to affect all of us in the music industry? And NAMM is a place where you see that maybe starting in, pro audio or places like that before it hits percussion, and you can take those trends and try to apply them to your business.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I hope there's still a reason for it to be, whether it's maybe in a smaller version. If it's it's one of those things, though, it's hard to put the toothpaste back in the tube because it had become so big. But maybe with the sort of reset that they're doing now, maybe there is a way, like you say, that they can sort of repackage it, repurpose it.
I think this business has this industry, a lot of nostalgia too. So it's like, oh, it was better back then, but we have to make it, better now.
Right. That's right. No, that's great. I before I forget, when you and I were offline, you mentioned, I think people probably saw there's been a big press release in the last couple of weeks about some new faces at Zildjian and some new things. And maybe you could talk a little bit about that too.
Yes, sure. We just actually, Manabu Yamamoto is in with us this week and next week. He's kind of added to our R&D team as almost, a consultant, visiting consultant. He just has a lot of kind of softer techniques, a lot of more granular techniques, and just a whole different vision coming from where he learned. So it's really been a nice compliment where, we have a lot of very homegrown talent here that's, years and years and years of in our factory and on our machines. So we're just, looking to kind of expand that and share knowledge and gather education. We're always talking about sort of succession, within the Zildjian family, like, oh, who's going to be the next CEO? But really succession in every position here is pretty important to us. So, working on apprenticeship programs and kind of how do you do multi-skilled cymbalsmiths, things like that. So there's a lot of changes going on in the factory. It's pretty new, but very exciting.
Great. And he'll be based in Japan where he lives. Yep. But he'll consult and he's there right now and he'll kind of come back and forth.
Yeah, he'll be visiting, like at least once a quarter. Usually, he'll probably be taking blanks and things like that with him and hand hammering at home. And we're still working out the exact logistics. But right now he's focused on two of our higher end lines, working with Joe Pillai and kind of recalibrating some of our machines and things like that, to see what we can do. I think it's really like that's sort of one of the things that I see that sets Zildjian apart a little bit, is our ability to be very deliberate and kind of institutionalize our innovation processes. We've always done a lot of innovation, but we haven't kind of had maybe the rigid structure and the kind of pipeline of innovation, and that discipline there. So we're starting to put a lot of those types of structures in, and then it's making, when somebody like Manabu comes to join us, it's just amazing to see what's coming out of the factory right now. So it's fun.
Without getting into a whole lot of things, maybe I don't know if you can get it, but I was just curious, how did it come about for him to be involved, to sort of bring an independent?
Again, it was a lot of talking with our artists and a lot of artist input. This has really been kind of something in motion for a couple of years. Talking to different people, and also then of course talking to like Joe Pillai, who is heading up our R&D now, and finding someone that he wants to work with, that he gets along with. So we took our time, we did some research, we asked a lot of questions. We did have some younger guys, who are great, but we needed someone who really had that institutional knowledge of, and he's very, he's been hand hammering for himself, I think, in Japan for maybe 10 years now. So, and he really, it's a very passion project for him as well. So I think, to watch Joe and Manabu back there, kind of, it's like these kids in a candy store.
That's great. Well, congratulations. And I know you have, he may not be I know, and Joe worked there after I started. Yeah. So he's been there probably 35 years.
Yeah. And he's not as much of a, he plays a little bit, but not really a drummer's drummer. So it's nice to have Manabu, who plays a little bit more. And then we've also added Guy Licata to the team as well. And he's kind of the missing link, the translator, who can really, get the requested sound to become reality. Yeah.
He's right. He's the link between the R&D side and the marketing side, and
right.
Yeah.
And Guy's a fantastic player. So
drummer,
we now sort of have, all of these roles. Great. And the three of them can each bring those skills to the team, and we'll see what happens. But it's it's nice to be able to have those like distinct qualities. I think we really needed that.
Yeah. I think people are excited to see what the future holds with all these.
It's really exciting to see kind of how alive I feel like, especially the higher end, the boutique market has become. Again, business school 101 is like that, competition is a sign of a healthy market. So that's great that we've got a lot of, interest and dedication and passion and skill out there.
Yeah, exactly. And I learned that working at Zildjian is the competition that we had, made us make better products. We all, even those of us that didn't actually make the stuff, made us aware of what the other companies were doing, and we could translate that to the people that make it, that, we need to make them thinner. We need to make them this way. And
yeah, I mean, I think, that's a trend you see in products all over. Things are getting more and more specialized. And we all know that all the cymbal companies love to have a million SKUs, right? So,
oh yeah,
keep breaking them down into more and more sounds. It's good.
Yeah, I know. No, I know. That's, again, that we could do a whole episode just talking about that. That's the challenges of SKU management. Yeah, I don't miss those days. Those meetings of like, we can't cut that one. Anyway.
Well, it's hard because it's a sound. You can't really get rid of it. You maybe take it out of the catalog, but it still exists.
Right. Exactly.
It's never ending, but it's really been, I feel very lucky, not only to be part of Zildjian and the Zildjian family, because it's just a really cool business and it's fun and I love music, but the transformation of the business and where the business is going right now, and watching all of these things happen and these decisions being made is very, very cool and exciting, and makes me really hopeful and very confident that Zildjian will be around here for the next 400 years. So
great. And let's not forget, you have other companies, other brands that you have under the umbrella of Vic Firth, Mike Balter.
Vic Firth is 60 this year too. So
that's right.
That's an awesome, we have a new factory up there, brand new factory, which I'm sure you have been to the old one.
I never went to the old. Yeah, I never made it there, but
it was. It was an old building. It was, I think, a tannery or something in the 1800s. So this is it's like really fun to go see the new one. It's pretty state of the art, and they've got a lot of robot arms and all those kind of fun things.
I've heard it's amazing, and that's great. Yeah, no, I knew this was the 60th year because it's the same year that Kelly was born. So it's just, it's two important birthdays this year.
Yeah.
So
wow.
Yeah. It's great. So any other things on the horizon that you can share with us that, I know there are probably things you can't share with us, but is there going to be something in Boston too? Did I hear?
We have a big celebration coming up in September. It's on the 20th. It will be at the Roadrunner Music Hall. I believe information will be going about that soon. And then again, there will be tickets available to that. It'll be much like our past anniversaries. We're going to be honoring some of the legends of our industry.
Great.
And then some of the other, maybe, some fantastic players will be playing in honor of that. So that will all go out shortly. But you can expect to see the usual like heavyweight names like Dennis Chambers, Sheila E., just many more. So
great. All right.
Yeah.
September 20th. Excellent.
Yes.
And it's, I'm sorry, go ahead. No,
I was going to say, and then we have some very exciting new product offerings and things like that coming out, but I'm not really allowed to talk too much about those. So you'll just have to stay tuned and see what comes.
Fair enough. Yep. No, I had a feeling you're going to say that. Okay.
Yeah, we have a lot. We're kind of paying homage, to the past and the future. So you should shortly see some things that will lead you to think about Zildjian in both ways.
Okay, and so like probably this summer or fall.
Well, this summer for sure we'll start, and we'll be trickling them out. So by the end of the year,
great.
There will be you'll have all the info.
Fantastic. I had made a note too to ask you, and maybe it's too soon to know your two daughters. I want to say your oldest, I'm going to guess, is about 15.
Oh, she's turning 15 on Tuesday. That's pretty good.
Okay. I remember when she was born, and I remember it was the year that 2008. I remember these crazy things that we honored Ginger Baker that year. So my mind was like in a million places. But so, and then you have your younger daughter is a couple of years younger. You have three daughters?
She's 12.
12. Okay. So just two children.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know why I thought maybe three. Do either of them have an interest in maybe working in the business someday? Do they seem interested or?
my 15-year-old gives a lot of opinions on the products. She's a pretty good, product tester. They're both very into music. My older one reminds me of me. Like, she listens a lot. She wants to go to a lot of concerts. Unfortunately, she's not going to Taylor Swift, but that's okay.
I was going to ask you that. Okay.
The other one is she plays the flute, and she loves band and all of that. So who knows? I mean, again, working in the business, I don't know what that will mean for them or look like, but I hope that there's opportunity for them to be involved in Zildjian.
Great. Yeah.
Forward, for sure.
Well, that's a good sign, I mean, that they're, your younger one plays the flute, and, they're interested in music, and who knows? But the nice thing is that, as you well know, is it's if they decide to do it, great, but they can always do something else that, if there's something else that interests them. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's an important balance to have, make sure that they grow up and they're aware of what's going on in the company, that they've had exposure, they understand the industry and things like that. But also you want them to have their own skills, and you want them to be able to bring something to the table that's, valuable to the company as well. So that's my job as a mom, I guess, to make sure that they get both of those, and then it's up to them.
Absolutely. I just have to tell you, as a parent myself, one of my happiest moments was taking my son. I think we were at the Dave Matthews Show. He was probably maybe your oldest daughter's age, maybe 15 or maybe 16. Yeah. And he loved Carter. Carter was so sweet to him. And I remember him telling me, he said, "Dad," I think he had to break the news to me. He said, "Dad, and he's a great drummer, and he's great as a young kid, and he's great now." And he said, I don't think I want to be a drummer. Like, I don't think I want to do that for a living. I want to be an engineer. I remember thinking, like, oh, thank you, God. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. And he did. He is, and he's really, really successful. And I'm so glad he's not a drummer. I mean, he is a drummer, but you know what I mean? Like, it's
I mean, I think if you're going to be it, there's no stopping you, right?
Right.
It's
right.
One of those it's either you're born, it's passionate, or you're a hobbyist, which is just fine too.
That's right. That's right. That works just as well. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Cady, this has been so fun. I don't want to forget to say anything or ask you anything. Was there anything else you wanted?
My sister and my cousin have also recently joined the board. So they're directors. And it's, I'm just psyched about that. And, I see like kind of the whole thing is coming together more and more. And I feel like the family will be, the family and Zildjian will be around for a long time. And I just am excited to see how much it grows and changes, and, what happens in the next couple decades, I guess.
Yeah, that's so great. Yeah. And Sam, I remember Sam had a pretty high position at Keurig. I don't know if she still works there.
In supply chain at Keurig.
She did. Okay.
So, yeah. And again, I'm not sure if that's something she'd want to do here or not. Kind of the way we're trying to go is really separate like the family obligations and family shareholder positions from employment. Not saying that if you are a family member, you can't be employed, but that they are, like it's a job that you would almost even apply for. You need a resume and things like that.
Yeah. Yep.
And I always kind of try to, we try to look at it like, would you want yourself to be, if you were going out to hire somebody, would you hire yourself is really the question. And there's so much.
Hire me. No.
Yeah. Right. I'm like, there's a lot of hard stuff going on. So I think surrounding yourself by really smart people. And that for us means, business people and certainly artists and, people who know how to make cymbals.
Yeah. Absolutely. So many great comments. You can go back and look at this. Gosh, a lot of folks watching, you have a lot of fans out there, Cady. No surprise.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, this has been so much fun, and I so appreciate you taking the time to chat today and talk about the 400th and any other things you want to say about this year, about the 400th, or we've covered it.
No, I think it's good. I mean, it's just, again, sometimes you're like, we've been talking about it for so long. It's crazy to think that we're here and now kind of halfway through. And it just brings me back to all the celebrations, John, that you were part of, that, we did together. It's pretty crazy to, have been along for the ride for all of these. So
Well, I'll just say thank you for mentioning that too, that some of my greatest memories of working at the company were those events that you mentioned. And I was thinking recently, it was 20 years ago that we did the Steve Gadd tribute. And that, as Craigie said to me at the time, if this doesn't kill you, it'll make you stronger. And it did almost kill me. But that was it was a huge, like honor to spearhead that. And also to remember your grandfather too. It was a duel. If you remember, we honored Armand as well. But I was thinking when I joined the company in early '89, I think so 35 years ago, we were just finishing they were still sort of residual 365th celebration. And then I was there for the 370th and 375th and 80th and 80th, so they're fun anniversaries. They're fun. It's fun to honor, to do all those things to remember, to celebrate the anniversary date. So.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's like truly, not a cheesy line here, but I mean, everybody who's been part of Zildjian at any point, at any time has gotten us here to 400. I truly feel like this is like everybody's celebration, whether you're still here, whether you were here at one point, whether, whatever your role was, it's like for all of us,
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, on a final note, I'll just say, I remember thinking, like the 400th anniversary seems so far into the future, like, 20 years ago, it was like, but that's not for a long time. That's going to, and boom, like you said, here it is. So, but job well done. Good for you. Congratulations.
Well, thank you. And you too. And to everybody, like I said, who helped us get here. I mean, it's pretty amazing. And I think we all deserve to celebrate a little bit. So.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much, Cady. It's been such a pleasure to have you. And thanks to everybody for watching today. And big hand for Cady Zildjian. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, sit tight if you would, and we'll say goodbye in the room. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Bye.
All right. That's my show. Thanks for listening. You can watch episodes of Live from My Drum Room live in real time on Facebook Live by following my Facebook page, Live from My Drum Room with John DeChristopher, and also my YouTube channel, Live from My Drum Room with John DeChristopher. And while you're there on YouTube, check out my new show, Track Talk, iconic songs with iconic drum parts and the drummers who created them. It's really cool. Check it out. Shorter episodes. You'll love it. And Track Talk is only available as part of my Live from My Drum Room series on my Live from My Drum Room YouTube channel and podcast platforms. So please subscribe. All Live from My Drum Room and Track Talk podcasts are available on all the major podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, etc. I also want to give a big thanks to my friend Steve Gadd for providing the music for my show. That's really Steve. And remember, no drummers are harmed during any episodes of Live from My Drum Room or Track Talk. So drummers, remember, when in doubt, leave it out, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.